why are you not losing weight? Well, I mean, I use olive oil. It's healthy. And I use this cream in my coffee. And it's like,
Yeah. Well,
that's
see,
why.
that's one level tablespoon of olive oil a day would be 12 pounds of fat with the calories a year. You know,
Mhm.
and you do that for 30 years, you got 40 pounds of fat, and you could eat perfect everything else.
Yeah.
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 The other thing with women tend to be way more scale obsessive
Yes.
Right.
than
Yes.
Oh,
men.
yeah.
So, for example, like even her, there was weeks that the scale didn't move, but she's sending me pictures, and I'm going, "Look at this!"
Yep.
Like you can
Yes.
see the difference. Her clothes are fitting different, the muscles there, right? So that is another, I would say, bigger challenge too, with more lifestyle compared to the competitors and compared to athletes, because
Yeah.
we don't really
True.
care about the scale.
Yeah. They understand.
We care
Yeah.
about
Well, you get.
everything else, right?
Yeah, you're getting on stage for physique. Yeah, so you care how you look. Well, that's awesome example because everyone knows 70% of your body is water. Well, you take a female, only 20% of her body is fat. 20% body fat. So you're using the scale. Obviously, that 70% of your body is a much bigger gauge on that. It'd be like if we gauged how much gas was in our car by how much the car weighed. Obviously a full tank car weighs more, but it's hardly anything. Most of the weight of the car is all the other stuff, and that's the same. And yeah, it's really difficult to really get that people to understand that, because like you said, you'll see these pictures, it's like, wow, you had an amazing week, you look like a different person, and they're like, but I'm up a pound. And it's like, what if the scale said 200 but you looked
Yeah.
exactly how you wanted to look? Would you?
Right.
Yeah. I had one client, she was a in-person client. And so we talked nutrition a little bit, but the majority was she needed to start moving more. Like she had a day job, her nutrition was pretty good. So we started training, and she did some classes. This is all before COVID when we could do classes and stuff. And she was going through her old clothes. She found a pair of pants. She decided to put them on. And this was like out of high school. And she's like, I couldn't believe it. My pants fit. This was somebody who was in their 50s, never lifted a weight before in their life, started at 5 pounds. Now she's shoulder pressing 30 pounds. She
Awesome.
did some big run. She was signing up for all these activities. And a year later, she came to me and she said, I'm so upset because I've made no progress.
Mm.
And I'm like, what do you mean you've made no progress? Like, look at what all you've done. And she's like, I
Yep.
Yeah.
stepped on the scale and nothing's changed.
Yeah. It's so
Obviously,
hard.
Yeah.
there's a lot out there with. I do feel like it's generational too. There was like a cutoff, like around, I don't know if it's like 30, like somewhere around like the early 2000s was a transition in women where they were looking more like, I remember when I was a trainer, even doing body composition, they just seemed to care a little more as time went on about their body fat and, tone and things like that. And now that's, the more mainstream thing, having a little bit more muscle, et cetera, where I think, that past was just so heavy on the scale that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a complete mind screw for them where they just can't wrap their head around the fact that they're actually progressing tremendously and just can't see the
Yeah.
difference.
And
Yeah.
I think
That's
doctors still sometimes say you should be
yeah.
this, right?
Yes.
So they go to their physical or their doctors and like, my doctor told me I need to be 120 pounds. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
You
you'd
just
look
ran
great
a
at
5K.
135.
Yeah, you just ran a 5K and lifted more weights than the doctor could lift.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds pretty healthy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's especially if they have good, good genetics. Like, a lot of women, just like men, like they can be hyper responders to, resistance training and just put on a ton of lean tissue, and just the metabolic burn rate of that kicking in hasn't really sunk in yet to make an impact on
Yeah.
the scale or the fat. So it's like they think they're fat. So it's definitely more challenging because
Yeah,
guys are a little
it's
easier.
across the board, because when you're eating like a higher carbohydrate, so if you eat a typical diet, typical first world diet, high in sugar, it's very sweet. You don't need to add much sodium. Sugary foods already taste sweet. Well, you switch them to lean protein, vegetables. That needs a lot of seasoning to taste good, And so people
Mhm.
typically their sodium intake skyrockets. Well, obviously you're going to hold water from that, and really it's difficult because people. You forget that things that are inherent, like I don't remember a time I didn't understand sodium. I've done this so long,
Right.
but most people wouldn't know what a carbohydrate is other than they think it's bad. I mean, people don't know what things are, and so it's really that's why I think the lifestyle are harder, because you're basically taking them. You need to get them to graduate high school, and they're walking into kindergarten class on the first day, and you got 3 months to do it. So.
Yeah, I'm curious too, Mikayla, for you. Like, I was going to pull this up too. You have some some male clients also. So there's a different approach to some of the men versus women. I mean, in your transformations, pretty short period of time, people are seeing some pretty big changes.
Well, the men are all the same. They want to gain muscle. The women all want to lose weight. That's what their initial thing is, or they want abs and a booty.
Sure.
Men want chest, but
they want to lose weight. I want a booty, so I want to add, but I want to lose weight. Right?
Right.
But I mean, yeah. But I mean, the approach really is similar. They want to gain some muscle and they want to lose body fat, right? It's
Sure.
really that part is the same. But I mean, the split I have them do is different. Obviously, a guy can have a lot more calories for the most part than the female can. But it's still, especially lifestyle, it's the knowledge part of it. Like you said, some people just don't have the knowledge of what's good food and what's bad food. So sometimes it's as simple as, teaching them what they can have versus why they can't have that, right? There's some people that still think if I say have some berries, they're buying fruit cups, right?
Yeah.
Which is still full of sugar. So it really, I find, depends. It's not almost a difference in female and male. It's the knowledge that they have, their goals that they want, and what they've already done. Some people are at the very beginning where just getting them out walking is a huge accomplishment for their training. Some people have been, on and off the last 10 pounds for the last couple of years, and you can see what they're doing and you can tell right away, well, this is why it's happening. Your training's not consistent. You're eating and then you're binging, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it really depends what they've been doing, what their goals are. But ultimately, I mean, there's only a certain amount of foods, right? Rice, quinoa, yams, like so many good carbs, only so many lean proteins that both male and female can eat, right?
It's funny you said the binging too, because that's the thing people don't really grasp is, like we said, to lose 2 pounds of fat a week, you got to be in 1,000 calorie deficit, 7,000 calories. That's a lot of work. That's a pretty deep deficit. That involves a lot of cardio, a lot of weight training. That's a lot of work to lose that. You go to one of those all you can eat buffets and you can put that down in an hour,
Right.
And so like going over on calories, it's the sport is more about, and I would say it's better to be like 90% good 100% of the time, like good food choices. Maybe it's not perfect, but you never really go off the rails versus being 100% good 90% of that time. Because if that 10% of the time you're binging on pizza and ice cream and beer, and you can't make up for it by being even perfect the other 90% of the time.
Yeah, sure. I always say when I talk to especially a lifestyle client, I'm like, you should look at your plan. And if you say, hey, I can do this for 6 weeks, I'm like, okay, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Because at the end of the 6 weeks, I know exactly what you're going to do. Right? You should look at it and go, hey, you know what? In a year from now, I can see myself having this for breakfast. I can see myself, getting up and going for a walk. Then we know we're setting you up for a lifestyle change versus just a 6 weeks quick, get the weight off as fast as you can. Right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Cause I was going to pull up too. Like, I think what's impressive is some of the other transformations that you have. And obviously there's tons of pictures, but like, it's some big fella that, dropped a bunch of weight. So obviously, he didn't get to that point without some pretty, counterproductive habits that he built. So I think you're not only making changes with their diet and nutrition, but just overall habits. You know what I mean? You don't get, to an obese class 3.
The habits go both ways. You fall, because when you're in shape, it's almost hard to eat bad because you've done all that work and you don't want to ruin it,
Right.
And so, I remember when I was actually in shape, it was hard to get out of shape because anytime I ate anything off my diet, off my plan, all I was thinking is like, oh God, I don't want to ruin all this work. Well, now that I'm out of shape, it's like, geez, I got 12 weeks of work to get in shape. What's it matter if I eat one more meal off plan, And so it's like, we're really like everyone says keep creatures of habit, but we absolutely are, once like that snowball has worked in that direction, it's, you get in the habit of eating junk food. It's really hard to get in shape and it's hard to get that transition. But if you can make that transition and then get in shape and you've done all that work, you can eventually get to a point where it's like, it's hard to eat off plan because you know all the work that went into that.
Yeah, it's so mental. And that's the hardest part about oftentimes with competitors, right? Is the 2 weeks post show.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's the hardest part about competing.
I ruined 12 weeks of dieting in 12 days after my first show.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, like, I mean, I'm just curious because a lot of your coaching is, you have, let me pull this up here. You have your, your online platform for some of your coaching that you do. And then, are you also doing, in person as well, or?
Yeah, I do some. I used to do all in person, like I was doing mostly personal training. And then after COVID hit, I moved to online, and the online started to get busier, and I was able to take people from out of country and just work with so many more people. So I try and focus more online, but I do have some local clients that I will, either do a brush up or a form check or something, or meet them once a week. So I do still some in person, but my focus has been online the last couple of years.
Yeah, and as far as, someone who's just making such a drastic lifestyle change, like, what's your approach at the beginning of that?
Like I said, the beginning usually is the knowledge, right? Like we don't learn about nutrition in high school or college or anything, right? So a lot of it is teaching them how to eat properly, what good carbs are, what good proteins are. For everybody, my biggest one I would say is if you can't hunt it or pick it, harvest it, don't eat it. No
Mhm.
processed
Sound
food,
familiar,
refined
Justin?
food,
Yeah, yeah. I say pick
sugary
it, kill it,
syrup.
grow it. Say the
Yeah,
exact same thing. Yeah.
yeah, right. So then it gives you an idea. Um, And then, of course, with all of them, I try and incorporate even the beginners, some weight training, even if it's 20 minutes, a couple times a week, just because I believe weight training is so important.
Hmm.
And again, it depends where the person is, right? If you're 300 pounds and it's day one, just getting some cardio in, going for a walk, getting the nutrition down packed, making some changes. So, but my biggest one is no processed food, not very much dairy unless it comes from maybe some Greek yogurt, not a lot of wheat, no sugar, and getting some weights for you.
Which, if you think back, like for 200,000 years, what humans ate, I mean, we really did it right all the way until we got modernized, and then we just
Yeah.
switched gears completely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because the body's almost self-regulating when you eat like clean foods. You're not going to go on My 600 Pound Life and find. Like find some lady who's on there because you just can't stop eating plums, or or
Yeah.
yeah, doctor, I can't stop eating fruit. So
Yeah.
you can overeat obviously with clean food, but it's almost self-regulating. You're not going to become obese eating chicken breast, broccoli, rice, oatmeal, strawberries. You're going to get that way eating ice cream and beer and chips. And
Exactly. Yeah. And I always say, like, there's some foods where I say, if you go over, I don't care. You had a bit extra chicken breast today, I don't care. You ate like you're not gonna overdo it on broccoli, like you said, right?
exactly,
You can
yep.
eat as much as
Hmm.
this kind of food as you want, and then portion out these kind. And often people come to me and they can't believe how much food I give them, right?
Yeah,
Because I was
yeah.
like, you can eat more of the good food. And if we keep you eating the good food, you're not going to be hungry and binge at night on the crappy
Hmm.
food, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of that too.
I think it's
And
a
the
big thing.
balance too, having a balance of the protein, carbs, healthy fats. Because I
Hmm.
find like if you're going to take something away from them, if someone's used to eating a lot of sugar, um, or booze, chips, all that kind of stuff, you got to replace it with something, right? So if you're not going to have the bad sugar, I let them have fruit in the morning or fruit in the afternoon, right? When instead of going for their candy, they have some
Yeah,
berries and yogurt, right?
yeah. And the
So
same,
making
yeah,
those
same
easy
thing.
changes.
A hand, like take Skittles. A handful of Skittles is 50 grams of carbs. You got to eat like 8 oranges to to get the
Yeah,
same thing as one handful of Skittles. You know,
yeah. Well, it's
or
like I
or anything
had
like.
one client, and that's what she was doing at night. At nighttime was her hardest thing. She's like, I can
Hmm.
be, she's so good during the day, but she gets home from work, watches Netflix with the kids, and then that's when the popcorn and the chips and the candy comes out, right? So I gave her a few different options, and her biggest one was after dinner, she did her walk. She just took the dog, went a walk, and did a walk around the block, and it was like the out of sight, out of mind. She'd come
Yeah,
back and she would be fine. And one day she messaged me and she goes, I totally screwed up on my plan. Totally screwed up at night. So it's like, well, what happened? She goes, I got back. I was still hungry. And she's like, I ate a handful of grapes and two strawberries. And I just literally laughed at her.
yeah,
Like we had that relationship anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to laugh at you. She's like, what? I'm like, remember when you came to me and you were eating Rolos and candy? And I'm like, you're really worried because you had a handful of grapes? And
yeah,
then
Right.
she
yeah, yeah,
started laughing too. She's like, oh my gosh, right? Like it's such change. And I'm like, you did nothing wrong. That's not gonna,
yeah,
it's don't worry
yeah.
about it. You're totally fine, right?
I find it really interesting with people where what I've found with a lot of lifestyle, they can't wrap their mind around eating when they're not hungry. Well, I wasn't hungry,
Mhm.
so I just skipped those 2 meals. And it's like, yeah, I know, but later tonight or tomorrow morning or
Yeah, when
tomorrow
you're
afternoon,
starving.
you're
Yeah.
going to pound some really, really bad stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do proactively to try to get ahead of that, or how have you managed through that?
For the clients, it's
Yeah, if they're,
that trying to make them eat every few hours. And I always say it's just like to keep your blood sugar. Because I said as soon as
yeah,
you go past 3, mostly 4 hours, I said that's when you're going to start mentally not even caring, because you're going to get to the
Yeah.
point where you're so hungry, you're going to get home and you're going to eat everything in sight because you don't care. You're just so hungry. So we're preventing that night snacking by having something in the afternoon or mid morning. So I use it more as telling them it's preventing it. And if they can't eat it all, maybe in the beginning, just have half your snack in the afternoon, right? Or just a protein shake, or we can make them smaller. And usually, if the first few weeks they think it's a lot of food and they are forcing
Hmm.
that mid snack, and then all of a sudden they're going, I'm hungry, I can eat
Yeah.
more. And we're
yep,
actually able to add more calories, right?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's
That's
interesting.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what, because I do carb cycling, and I get that every time the first high carb day. I can't eat
Yeah.
all this food. I say, remember that. Save this email, because 6 months,
Yeah.
6 weeks from now, you're going to be saying, I could have ate 10 times that much food.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
the
as soon
more
as you
you weight train, the more your strength goes up, your metabolism goes up, right? You can eat more.
Yeah. That's the hard thing with women too, is the weight training. I think it seems like it's way, way, way better. 20 years ago, it seemed like they were a lot more worried about weight training, but you try, they're trying to change their shape. You try to explain to them the only thing that can really change your shape is the weight training.
Yeah.
You do cardio or whatever, you're just becoming a smaller silhouette of the same shape. If you want to change the way your shape is, this is the one thing that can do it. Use it as a tool. You're not getting bulky. We're picking the parts that we want to look rounder.
Yeah. I think it's definitely gotten better because I don't think any female clients that are really worried when I tell them to do some weight training.
Nice. Yeah.
Maybe a
It's way,
couple that go, well, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. And I'm like, no,
yeah.
you're not going to. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
That's
yeah.
like, yeah. I wish it just accidentally happened.
Yeah. So I said, I was like, I
Could have
wish I could
saved a
just,
lot of time.
hit my shoulders twice a week and they'd grow. But
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. Well, I know we're coming up close on time here, so I appreciate you jumping on. So we're gonna go through our final round, our closing round here, which we call shoot, move, and communicate. So it's just a rapid fire question round here. Some questions are single word answer. Others you can elaborate a little bit on. But if you're ready to roll, we'll jump into that and take you through it. Sound good?
sounds good.
All right, you ready? Here we go. First one, pretty easy here. What accomplishment in your competitions makes you most proud?
I would say my transition to figure and placing top 5 in the majority of my shows.
Okay, awesome, good stuff. What accomplishment outside of your competing has made you most proud?
Growing my online fitness business and being able to help so many people.
Awesome. And can you share an accomplishment of a client that makes you most proud? I'm sure there's many, but if you had to just share, just if you could just share one.
That one is very hard because so many of my clients have done extremely, extremely well.
We'll let you go
But
on. You can
I'll
you can
say the
share two or
one
three. Feel
which
free.
is I've got a girl that she is now lost. Her goal was to hit 100 pounds, and she has now lost over 100 pounds.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. All right. So next question for a young up and coming female competitor looking to make that similar transition you did. What would be some words of encouragement or advice you would give her?
Have patience and keep going.
Got it. Good deal. And one word to describe a figure competitor, what would that be?
Determination.
All right. Good stuff. And if you had to miss one, what would it be? A meal, a night of sleep, or a training session?
Oh, night of sleep.
All right.
Yeah.
Think I've
Good
done
deal.
that before.
I'm team night. Yeah. I'm team night of sleep too. You're the first person that said that.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. All right, next one is a parallel between we talked a little bit about it, but between the horseback riding career and competing, what would be like a parallel, a similar thing,
The
transition there?
mindset.
Mindset. And how so?
Mindset where you have a goal and you work towards it and you accomplish it and you
All
don't
right,
give up.
Good deal. Next thing is, can you currently share? We talk a lot about being all in at first attachment, and so be interested to hear about just something you're all in on, you're really passionate about, or something maybe that's coming up that you're really passionate about and that you're all in on. What would that be?
Getting back on stage for 2023, and my biggest goal would be to get that pro card.
Awesome. And lastly, another thing that we like to say is our products and our approach is battle tested. So what is either a recent or current battle that you've are either working through or were able to kind of persevere through?
In the past, it would be my anxiety and depression. I suffered from that for a little bit when I was younger, and the training actually was what saved me from that. It helped me quite a bit.
Awesome. Awesome. No, I appreciate
Cool.
you sharing that. That's it. That wasn't that bad, right?
No, it's easy. I was worried.
Justin, Mr. Harris, thanks for joining us tonight as well. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts, questions, comments?
Oh man, put me on the spot. No, I'm the one who's supposed to chime in and just go on tangents that last too long. I'm not supposed to add anything of value. No, no. I mean, you made really good progress in the last. It's cool. I always think. I mean, that's what people who aren't in the sport don't get. Like, it's the amount of work that goes in those before and after pictures in the progress you make, especially when you've already been a good physique. I just wish. So many people don't have anything like that in their life. You know, they wake up, they go to work, and everything's the same. There's no. It's like, what am I here for? Where am I moving towards? And you know, maybe weight training isn't the thing that's going to be that for someone. But it's so empowering, and there's so much like self growth and working really, really hard at something, and then having the results to see it. I mean, you know, we only get one chance on this earth, you know, and so many people go in, you know. Find a job that they can, you know, phone it in and leave at noon, head to the bar on Fridays, and all they're doing is working for the weekend. And you don't feel like you just sit in a circle. You're never going anywhere. What I love about the sport is that we all have that story of I was over there, now I'm over here, and it was my work that got me there. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, for all the viewers out there, thanks again, Mikayla, for joining us. And if you'd like to find Mikayla on Instagram, it's just her first and last name with an underscore in between the two, as you can see on the screen there. Also, MikaylaFit.com is her training site. So we did kind of pull that up.
That's where I knew you from. I know that website. Okay.
So, but yeah, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And for everyone else out there, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And have a good night. We'll see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.